Welcome, welcome. Welcome to Trucker Talk, episode 4. Um, my special guest today is George Shine. How you doing this day? How you
Well,
doing
well, I don't know about special, but I am the guest, so it's pretty good. I'm good and good. It's a little chilly here in Knoxville today, but it's the house inside here is nice and warm. Topic we're gonna talk about can get a little too.
Okay. Well, today's topic we want to talk about today is vulnerability. Vulnerability. Me personally, when I think about being vulnerable can put you in some tough, tight situations. And growing up, as I was getting older, let me go back. At a young age, I didn't know any better. I guess I had to learn the hard way as far as certain people that you could be vulnerable with, because you're vulnerable with the wrong people, they can use that against you. So, George, I know you the man with the wisdom. Well, what are the things I've learned from you is, and I've always carried this: experience is the best teacher. So you the man with experience. So can you tell me a little something today?
Well, being vulnerable is not a bad thing. I think a lot of it's how you are raised, what you were influenced by, what you see is sometimes what we mimic. So being vulnerable is just a way of saying, to me personally, I think is being trusting in something or someone that you would not trust everyone to know about you or how you feel about certain things.
Okay, well, okay. I'm gonna go into a situation, and I'm not gonna say names, but at the time, and I've told a couple of people this story, but I think with me trying to be the helpful person that I am, I had a friend of mine. I guess this might be a vulnerable situation. We'll see. um, I just sold my house, and a friend of mine, he needed to borrow some money to get him a shop going. So with me being the person that I am, I was like, well, I'm a helpful person. I'm a helpful individual. I like to help people. So I guess in my heart, I wanted to do the right thing, and I loaned the money. So in return, I guess they say, I guess you've heard it before. Well, they say it now, but they say when you give, or when you, I guess in these day and time, you give somebody something, you just want to basically just give it to them. Don't loan it to them, because being in a friendship, it can cause problems and cause issues. So one of the things I learned, so to make a long story short, I loaned the money out. A couple of years go by, I still haven't got my money. So of course, it put tension on our friendship. And I guess me as a person, it kind of stung me, because it hurt me pretty bad. And I guess when I say being vulnerable, to me personally, I've had some bad experiences with being vulnerable. Said it. I think you said it can be a good thing, but I've had a bad experience with it. So with me, I took it personal. So it basically burned our friendship up, and we ain't friends no more. So that was my vulnerable situation.
I think in that situation, which is true, and a bit of wisdom and a lot older and experienced, but my share of ups and downs. I think when we say, well, I'm going to do this for this person, but if you're doing it from the heart, don't expect anything back and you're not keeping score. So that way, outcome is going to be good no matter how you look at it, because you're not doing it with the intent of getting, say, if you loan out money or whatever, or vehicle, or just anything that you entrust in someone else, assuming that you would get it back wholeheartedly. Sometimes people run into bad times and they just, well, I ain't got it either, because normally the whole scenario say, hey, can I get $5 till tomorrow? And I would say, well, hey, just wait till tomorrow and ask me, and then you won't need the $5. So that being said, if you give something, just to, out of the heart, just assume you're not going to get it back and just give it in good faith. But you also learn in those experiences what you can trust, who you can trust, and you have a limit of what you're willing to give to be trustworthy of.
Okay, like that. Um, what do you got on your mind today?
Well, we're just looking at a different thing. We're gonna play this thing, we're gonna ad lib a little bit, going into the vulnerability thing. And being vulnerable is one of those things where if you're not around that type of atmosphere, where you around people who are vulnerable, not necessarily say you may not be vulnerable, but don't mind sharing your feelings or issues that you won't say answers or opinions or comments about. A lot of people take it as being vulnerable, you little soft, you ain't a man, which in my opinion, I think those are things that we have to change as a society. As for men, is to teach our young men, can be vulnerable, but you got to be smart at the same time, not trickery smart, but don't pour out all your soul until you have fully invested trust in this person that you are being vulnerable to.
Right, and I agree with that. And that's one of the things that I think, or one of the things that I'm working on and I'm correcting in my life right now as we speak is, just being forgiving and going back and just undoing some things because of some of the situations and some of the situations that I've been into and where, like I said, I put myself in a vulnerable situation and the outcome wasn't good. So I just I responded in a different manner. So
And that's true. And like I say, being vulnerable is not a bad thing. And in my opinion, I don't think it is. I think it's a good thing to have feelings. You also have to sometimes guard those feelings so you don't get taken advantage of, so you don't get your feelings hurt or get rejected in any type of way. But you can be vulnerable in a kind of learn from that vulnerability. If something negative happens from that, I always look at it as a lesson learned in that season. Because if that hadn't not happened, that experience didn't take place, you would not have learned a valuable lesson from that experience. So you're going to go on forever thinking, oh, everything's going to be super fine. But when those uh, walls, stumbling blocks pop up and they get in the way, then you learn, okay, from this experience, I've learned this. So maybe in the future going forward, I'll do this. Maybe these same outcomes won't be the same because each situation is going to be different as well. So just be mindful of how much vulnerability you're going to allow yourself to be at any given time.
yeah, saying that, um, like it was what we talked about the other day. When you talk about learning from the situation and the experience, I think we was talking about. I think I was talking about something I'd done, and you brought that up, and you said, "Well, I had to make that bad choice in order to get that experience to not make that choice again." But when I look back on it, I'm sitting here like, man, I can't believe I done this. Can't believe I bought that. And I guess in my own mind, one of the one of the things I've realized is, I guess depending on what I'm going through or the situation or circumstances, we all have our we're all different, but we all got our own different behaviors when it comes to dealing with things. And some people, they react in different ways. So I caught myself in a pattern with doing like a certain pattern. So I guess going and buying things, and in reality, we want to buy. In reality, we buy things and we think it makes us happy, but at the end of the day, it fulfills you for that. It fulfills you for that time being, but after you go to sleep and then you get up and you think about it, it's like, why'd I do that? But
Well, that's true. That's totally makes sense because we do things to make us instant gratification is what we all look for at the end of the day. Instant gratification, and we also want a positive experience from that instant gratification that we're looking for. Sometimes it doesn't always work out that way, but at the same time, those experiences that you have, and if it's become a negative experience, so to me, you learn from that experience because until you fail don't know what it feels like to get back up and being able to walk again.
Well, hey, and you saying that, I'll tell a story about the time I was a young whippersnapper, and I went to your house, and I was all back when I was cut up. I was cut up. I thought I was cut up. I go over to your house, and we start doing this weight training, and you start having me because me, of course, well, I'm not gonna say it, but I had the arms, but we started doing like some, I guess some ab stuff, and so man, next thing I know, I done messed my back up.
Yeah, and it happens sometimes. You know, when you do things in a different sequence, on a different method, in a different way, it changes how. And that's just like life. You do things differently and expect that same outcome. Sometimes it don't work out that way. But if something changes, that outcome is not going to be the same. It's not going to be. So with that being said, and what we're doing some ab crunches on the ball, going full range of motion, but we were isolating, concentrating on that particular muscle. So your lower back was not used to
Correct.
being concentrated as it was. It used to be just being, more of a ballistic type approach to it. But I did more static holds, which kept that muscle working, working. And it's almost like time under tension, that's what we call it. So, and then just like in life, you do the same thing. You go into this thing, guns are blazing, and you expect for this outcome to be what you want it to be. That necessarily means it's going to be that way. It's depending on how the other, say, person accepts what you got to offer, and whatever results come from that, that determines the outcome of what's going to happen. It may be scripted, it may be planned, but it don't mean it's going to come out the way you. It's not going to be that fairy tale that you wrote a book and you totally in charge of everything that's going to happen. But got the mix of different situations, different people. The outcome is not going to be what you think. You may be planning to hopefully come out like you want. Probably not going to come out like you want it to. Not to everybody's advantage anyway, because somebody wants to win. Everybody wants to win. Everybody has a different agenda on how they're going to do things.
Well, you said everybody wants to win. I mean, you got a winner and a loser, so
Yeah.
you can have that. Well, I say people going to competition. You got your winner, your loser, but I don't. It all depends on. You got to have that mindset where you're got to be able to accept it either way. Some people they going in like, well, we gonna win, so you got that mindset thinking you're gonna win, and then when you lose, feel that hurt, and it hits you the way it hits you, and you wasn't expecting that. I mean,
Yep.
it hits you different, but
Totally different blow because that was called a sucker punch. You didn't see it coming, but it came.
right, right. Um,
That's pretty much the root of it. It's like say, and this all kind of encapsulates the word vulnerability. And everybody's got their own definition of it. If you Google it or look it up in what we call now, most people don't use Webster dictionary. You're gonna have the word the meaning, but vulnerability in there. But just allowing yourself to be truthful to whoever you want to be truthful to, and hoping it doesn't, they don't use that against you in the long run. Because when you're vulnerable, you can't take that back once you let it out. It's out there. So that's why a lot of times you see on any internet and all the things that are out there. What's out there is out there. You may delete it, but somebody else happened to delete this, so they got there. So being vulnerable, like say, again, it's not, to me, it's not a bad thing. It's just being careful who be vulnerable with. Because the vulnerability, the trust is the biggest thing about vulnerability.
right, and like I said, they can use that against you. And I'll go back to and it's been a while with the whole Kendrick, the Kendrick Lamar. They was going through their things, and Ken, J. Cole, he had come back and he apologized, and they was all giving him plaque for it. They was on him about that, and I'm just like, I mean, he recognized that what he said, and that was basically out of his character, and he come back and apologized for it, and I guess, I mean, it made him feel okay, but he still caught a bunch of stuff for it.
And that's the thing about it, you're gonna catch flack for any time you do something right. Most of the time, society is believing conflict, and that's where we divide ourselves up. Instead of somebody got to come to a point and say, "Hey, my bad. I'm sorry. I wasn't 100% right. You wasn't 100% right. I didn't see your side of it. Obviously, you didn't see my side of it. We both are right in our own respect, but we want one of us want to win, and that's what happens when you both want to win. there's no compromise. It's not a scorekeeping because you can't. That's the only way you can win by points. But for the most part, you gotta willing to sacrifice. Okay, meet in the middle, and we both are right, and we both are wrong in our own respectful ways. And that's where that comes in. That that eliminates, I think, some of the beef and some of the disrespect that people have towards each other nowadays, because none of us are 100% right. We all have flaws. It is none of us are 100% right on most of the stuff that we do every day. We make good decisions; they come out right. But if you take that same situation, it could have been done a little different. Maybe the outcome would have been the same, or the outcome could have been worse. But at the same time, it's respecting that other person's ideas, what the opinion was, and that they may not be all right or all wrong, and neither were you.
Right. Right. Yeah. Said a lot there, but yeah, being vulnerable is just, it's good and bad, but um wrap up. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap the show up, man. Um I appreciate you again, as always, and thank you for your time, and I thank you all for listening. And I appreciate you all.
It's the drip from me, Strozar.